We continue now at the top of Daf Samach and Aleph and Meseches Gittin. This is Gittin Daf 65a. On the previous summit, the Gemara was discussing whether a katan is ever able to be zochel la'acherim, is ever able to be kona something on behalf of someone else. And Rav Gittin of Vardon asked a question from a Mishnah in Eruvin. The Mishnah in Eruvin seems to say that by shitufim avos it is possible for a katan to be zochel la'acherim. And the Gemara says that Rav Gittin of Vardon, the answer that was given to him was that you can't ask from Shitufim Avos, because Shitufim Avos is Midrabanan, and since it's Midrabanan, that's why we're more lenient, that's why we allow a katan to be Zochel Acherim in that case. And the Gemara said, why didn't Rav Gittin of Vardon respond that you can't answer that Shitufim Avos is Derabanan? Because any time the Rabbanan make a takana, Kein Doraisa Tikkun, they always make it that it models after the Doraisa. And therefore, if in general by a Doraisa, a katan cannot be Zochel Acherim, it shouldn't work by Shitufim Avos also. That's what Rav Gittin of Vardon should have responded, and he should have said that his question is still a good question. But the Gemara continues v'idach in the other opinion, meaning Rav Gittin of Vardon, he'll respond and say the reason why he didn't say that is ki amrinan kol detikon rabbanon kein doraisa tikon. When do we say that when the rabbanon make a takon it has to be modeled after the doraisa? B'milsa di isla ikr min Torah. That's only by something that has a major basis from the Torah. Avol milsa de lesla ikr min Torah. But if you have a rabbanon that's not based on something in the Torah, like shitufim avos, so then we don't say that. Then we do not say that the rabbanon has to be modeled after the doraisa. And that's why Rav Gittin of Vardon accepted the response to his question. He accepted the idea that you can't really ask from Shitufim Avos because it's different, because it's Derabanan. And the Gemara continues, Mesiv Rav Avya. Rav Avya asks the following question. This is a question from a Mishnah in Meiser Sheni, and it's also again in Rav Chisda's position. Rav Chisda said that a minor, a katan, is never able to be Zochel Acherim, and this Mishnah in Meiser Sheni seems to indicate the opposite. The Mishnah says, Ma'ariman al Meiser Sheni, you're able to avoid paying the extra fifth when you redeem Meiser Sheni. You create this ha'arama. The idea over here is that generally when the owner redeems his Meiser Sheni in order to spend the money in Yerushalayim, he has to redeem it and add a fifth of the value. But the way to get around it is to have somebody else do the redemption. Keitzad how so? Omer Adam livno vito hagadolim. The person can say to his son or his daughter who's an adult, liavdo v'shivchaso ivrim, or to his eved or shivcha that's Jewish, hey lochem mos halalu, take this money, it's your money. Ufdu behen Meiser Sheni zeh, and redeem with this money this Meiser Sheni, and that way somebody else is doing the redemption. You don't have to add a fifth. And so the Gemara now says, Hai shivcha hechidami. When we talk about a shivcha over here, what's the case? And this is similar to what we said on the previous Amud. Ida asya beisaros, if the case is that she has the two hairs that are the signs of maturity, that are the signs that she's an adult. So my boy gabe, what's she doing as a shivcha anymore? A shivcha goes free at that point in time. Elalav de asya beisaros. Rather, is it not that she has not yet brought forth the two hairs of maturity, and she's a minor? And what are we saying over here? We're saying she's able to be zochel acherim. And the Gemara answers to that along the same lines as before. Hacham ma'askin, and here what are we talking about? But Meiser bezman hazeh d'Rabbanan. We're talking about Meiser nowadays, which is just midrabbanan. But the Gemara says that can't be. There's no such thing as an Amma Avriya nowadays. Is there such a thing as an Amma Avriya bezman hazeh? But we learned in a Braisa, Ein Eved Ivri Noeg, Ela bezman shayovel Noeg. Eved Ivri does not, the laws of Eved Ivri do not apply unless you're in a time where the laws of Yovel apply. And so the Gemara instead says, Ela ba'atz es sheino nokov d'Rabbanan. Rather, what we're talking about over here is it's only Meiser Sheni midrabbanan. We're talking about it, the Meiser Sheni is being grown in a pot that does not have a hole in it. Therefore, it's not deriving its sustenance from the earth, and therefore it's only chayiv and shumas and Meisers on a d'Rabbanan level. And again, since it's d'Rabbanan, it's different. We allow a katan to be zocha in such a situation. And Rashi explains, Ma'arimin lifdoso below chomesh. You can do this harama to redeem without adding a fifth. Shada mosif chomesh kishapoda as Meiser Sheni shalo. The halach is that when a person redeems his Meiser Sheni, he has to add a fifth. But he does not have to add a fifth on others. Let's say he acquires it from his friend. And so therefore what he's doing is he's giving them the money and telling them to redeem the Meiser Sheni from him. They're considered acherim, they're considered independent of him. But they also rely on him, he provides them their food, and therefore everything that is theirs really belongs to him. They give everything back to him, and so that's the idea. That's how he can technically have others redeeming the Meiser Sheni, and that would be a situation of zochel acherim. That was the question of the Gemara, and again the Gemara ends up answering, we're talking about Meiser Sheni, that's midrabbanan. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Gimel Midos Bekatan, there are three levels when it comes to a katan, to a minor. Tzror v'zorko egos v'nodlo, if the katan knows how to distinguish and throw away a pebble and take a nut. Zochel yasmo vein zochel achirim, at that level he's able to acquire for himself, but can't acquire on behalf of others. Uchenegdon bekatan, and similarly by a minor, miskadeshes lamian, at that point in time she's able to accept a kiddushin in terms of the halachas of miyun. That has to do with the halacha that a katana, as she gets older, she's able to refuse the marriage. Ha'pu'utos mechon mekach umemkor and memkor, when they reach the level of pu'utos, so what they purchase is considered a good purchase, and what they sell is considered a good sale. B'metaltalin, when we're talking about movable objects. Uchenegdon, and corresponding to that, b'katana, when it comes to a girl who's a minor. Miskareshes b'kiddushay avia, at that age, she's able to be divorced. Let's say she had a kiddushin that was accepted on her behalf by her father, meaning let's say she's married on a doraisa level. That's in contrast to the miskadeshes lamian, which is a kiddushin at a drabanan level, where she's able to refuse the marriage at a later point in time. But here we're talking about a katana that is married at a doraisa level, so again, at this age of pu'utos, she's able to be divorced. And finally, the last level, higiu la'onas nadarim, when they reach the age of onas nadarim, that's the age that they're able to say nadarim, to make vows. Nidrei haneder, at that point, their nadarim are considered acceptable vows. V'hekdesh and hekdesh, if they designate something as hekdesh, it's considered hekdesh. Uchenegdon bekatan, and corresponding to that, when we're talking about a girl, choletzes, at that age, she's able to perform chalitza. V'limchor b'nichsei yaviv, and now in order to sell the property of his father, ad shehei ben esrim, he has to be the age of 20 in order to be able to do that. And Rashi explains, Shalosh midos chalukos b'zechias katan, again, three levels of understanding we're talking about by a minor in terms of them acquiring things. Uchenegdon bekatan, and corresponding to the katan, that's the minor, that's a male, we have a corresponding halacha with regards to the female. Choshev lo yodas lishmor kiddusha, the point is, at that point in time, she is considered to have knowledge in terms of able to keep her kiddushin when she receives kiddushin. Umiskadeshes b'kiddushay ima awachia ledaita, so she can have a kiddushin through her mother or her father. Let's say she doesn't have, through her mother or her brother rather, let's say she doesn't have a father, that's what we understand to be a kiddushin midrabanan, or bekabolas atzmam yisomi, or let's say she's an orphan, she can even receive the kiddushin herself, lemiyun, and then she'll do miyun in order to get out of that marriage, shetzricha lemayin, that she needs to actually refuse the marriage in order to get out of it, ve'ina yotze below miyun, she's not going to be able to leave the marriage without miyun, tetzanan b'yavamas, as we learned in the Mishnah Yavamas, kol tinokas she'ni yechola lishmor kiddusha, if you have a young girl who's not even old enough to be able to watch what she's given as kiddushin, she doesn't even need miyun, she gets out of the marriage automatically. The point over here is she knows how to watch her kiddushin, she knows how to receive the kiddushin properly, and therefore in order to get out of the marriage, it's considered to be a good marriage on a derabanan level, it's a good kiddushin on a derabanan level, and in order to get out of the marriage, she performs miyun, she refuses the marriage. And Rashi continues, Ha-pu'utos tanan banizokin the mechan mekach b'metaltalin. Pu'utos, we say, at that age, they're able to buy and sell when it comes to movable objects. Uparshinan kebar shis kebar tamni. We say over there that it's about 6 or 8 years old. Uchenegdon b'katana, and then again, corresponding to that, by a girl that's a minor. Mishigia liyamim halola, when she reaches this age. Mishal chavena choseres karina, but that's called somebody who can be sent away from the marriage, and she won't return. She understands what it means to be divorced. Umiskareshes b'kabolas atma, she can be divorced when she receives the get. Even if her father's the one that accepted the kiddushin, meaning even if it's a doraisa kiddushin, if a mason he dies, kiddushin minatorah, even though it's a kiddushin minatorah, she can still receive a get. And finally, higiu onas nadarim, when they reach the age of onas nadarim, that's shana achas lefnei na'arusa, that's 1 year before narus, 1 year before that stage of adulthood. Nivdakin, so then we can inspect when they make a neder to make sure they know what they're saying. We say that when she's 11 years old and 1 day, at that point in time, we can inspect her vows. If she understands what she's making this neder for, what she's making this hekdesh for, nidra neder, v'hekdesh hekdesh, the neder is considered a neder. And choletzes, at that point in time, she can perform chalitza. Imhevia simonim, it means to say if she has signs of maturity, she can perform chalitza. We don't say that those signs are just shuma, which means they're hairs that don't indicate maturity. We understand that they do indicate maturity at that age. But before that age, katana, she's considered a katana. Even the signs she has don't really count. She's not able to perform chalitza. The ish kasu b'parshu makshinan ishal ish. It says the word ish in the parsha. We compare a woman to a man for this in this regard, and that's why it has to be at that age. Only at that age do we say that simonim really count. And finally, we said limchor b'nichsayaviv, to sell with his father's property, meaning karkos, to sell land of his father. Now he wants to take care of his father's property. Ad sheyeh ben esrim, he has to be 20 years old to have a katan. Until he's 20, he's still considered a minor. He's not allowed to be involved in those kinds of sales. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Katana she'omra hiskabel giti, if a young girl who's a minor tells a shliach to accept the get for me, Eino get, it's not going to be a good get, ad sheyagia get liyod, until the get actually reaches her, because a minor is not able to appoint a shliach. Lafikach imratza haba lachzor yachzor. Therefore, if the husband wants to retract, he's able to retract, meaning to say she's not divorced immediately when the shliach gets the get. She's only going to be divorced when it reaches her hand. She'ein katan osa shliach, because a katan, a minor, is not able to appoint a shliach. Now, if her father is the one that said to the shliach, go and receive the get on behalf of my daughter, meaning the father is the one who's appointing the shliach l'kabola, so if the husband wants to retract, in that case, he cannot retract because that is an effective shliach l'kabola, and she's divorced immediately when the shliach receives the get. And the Mishnah continues, let's say a husband says, give this get to my wife in such and such a place. And he gives it to her in a different place. Puzzle, that is puzzle. We understand that to mean that he specifically wants to give the get in that location. But if the way he phrases it is he says, she is in that place, and then he gives it to her in a different place, kosher, it's kosher, because there he's simply identifying where the shliach can find the wife. And the Mishnah continues, let's say the wife says to receive the get, she tells the shliach, receive the get for me in such and such a place, and he receives it for her in a different place. Puzzle, again, it's disqualified because she is makbid that it be in that specific place. And in this case, Rebbe Elazar machshir. In this case, Rebbe Elazar says it's kosher. We don't say that that's really considered to be her hakpada. Haveli giti mimakom ploni v'haviu la mimakom acher. Let's say she says, bring me the get from such and such a place, and he brings it to her from another place, kosher, then in that case it's going to be kosher. We understand that to mean, again, that she's simply identifying where it is that he'll be able to find the get. And Rashi says, Imratza haba lachzor kodem she'yageh get liyad. Again, if the husband wants to retract before she actually gets the get. And then the Mishnah said puzzle, so it's disqualified. De'ein ritzono she'alizu olav sham u'kapedahi. In other words, if the husband says, I want it to specifically be given in this particular place, he doesn't want it in a different place because he doesn't want the rumors to spread in that other place. He wants it to spread specifically where he wants it to be, and therefore he's makbid. But harehi b'makom ploni. But if he says you can find her in this place, eino ela kamar makom sham timtzena, he's simply saying that's where you could find her. But if it happens to be somewhere else, it's not an issue. Rebbe Elazar machshir, and then it said that Rebbe Elazar says if the wife is makbid, Rebbe Elazar seemed to say kosher. He argues specifically in that case. Taimam mefarish b'Gemara. The reason will be explained in the Gemara. And the Gemara says asks exactly this question. Rebbe Elazar ma'ishna reisha to lo polig u'ma'ishna seifa de polig. Rebbe Elazar, why is it that in the reisha he doesn't argue, but in the seifa he does argue? Why specifically in the case of the wife does he say that if she says she wants it to be received in a particular place, we don't care, it's going to be kosher anywhere? And the Gemara answers, the husband who is the one who is divorcing willingly, so kapit, he's makbid, he has control over the situation. But but the wife, she's divorced against her will, so therefore she doesn't really have control anyway, so it can't be a hakpada. So mara makom hilo. That's why Rebbe Elazar feels that she's really just indicating where it is that he'll be able to find the husband, he'll be able to find the get, but it's not a hakpada of the wife. And Rashi explains, midaite megarish, the husband divorces willingly, vadavar talibo, everything is dependent on him. So you could say he's makbid, he's specifically telling the shliach, I want it to be over there specifically. But she's being divorced against her will. How does she know where the husband wants to give the get? Therefore, it must be interpreted that she's just directing the shliach where he'll be able to find the get. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Haveli Giti, let's say the wife says, bring me my get. Ocheles betruma, she can continue to eat truma at sheyagia get liyad until the get actually reaches her, meaning she's still considered to be married at that point in time until the get reaches her, and she can have truma if she's the wife of a Kohen. But the Mishnah continues, Hiskabeli Giti, if she says to the shliach to receive the get from me, so there the idea is he's a shliach l'Kabbalah, she's divorced immediately. Asur lecho b'truma miyad, she's forbidden to eat truma immediately, because the divorce could take place the moment that he receives the get. We don't know exactly when he received the get, but the moment he leaves her, it could be he received the get, and therefore she's asur in truma immediately. Hiskabeli Giti b'makom ploni. Now let's say she says, receive the get for me, in a specific place, so then ochelas b'truma, she can eat truma ad sheyagia get lo so makam, until the get actually reaches that place. That's a hakpada that the shliach actually has to be in that location for the divorce to take effect. Rabbi Elazar oser miyad. Rabbi Elazar says it's not true. It doesn't have to be in that exact location, and therefore he says it's usher immediately. She's usher immediately from having truma. And Rashi explains, Haveli giti ochelas b'truma meishes koini ad sheyagia get liyada. If she says, bring me my get, she can eat truma if she's the wife of a Kohen until the get reaches her. Lioso makam, to that particular place. Again, the Mishnah said that if she says it's in that place that the divorce should take effect, so she's only usher from having truma when it reaches that place. Shekach amrlo, because what she's saying to him is, lo tehei shluchi l'Kabbalah elasham, you're only really my shliach l'Kabbalah when you're there. Now the Gemara will ask, if he received it in a different place and then walked over to the other place, how is that a get? Even when he reaches there eventually, how does that work? But Tanan le'el pasal, didn't we learn in the Mishnah earlier that that would be pasal? Oser miyad, and then we said that Rabbi Elazar says it doesn't have to reach that place. She's oser immediately in truma mishapirish me'etzla, from the moment the shliach leaves. Rabbi Elazar l'taimei the machshir kishakibla b'makam acher. Rabbi Elazar follows his opinion that when he receives it in any location, it's going to be a good get. The mara makam hilo, she's simply showing him where to go. Umishas kabbalah igrish Allah, from the moment that he receives the get, the shliach receives the get, she's divorced. Lefigach misha shapirish milfana asura shava metzoch chutz lir v'kiblo heimanu. Therefore, the moment the shliach leaves her, she becomes asur in truma, because maybe right away he found the husband outside the city and he received the get from the husband. And the Gemara asks, and this is what Rashi alluded to, V'gita miyohav. It sounds like in this Mishnah that it would be a get, meaning if she says receive the get in such and such a place, so let's say the shliach doesn't receive the get in that place, but then he eventually makes his way over to that place, apparently that's a good divorce. V'amri reisha, but you just said in the reisha, in the previous Mishnah, we just said, lo havigita, that if she says to receive the get in a certain place, and he does not receive the get in that place, so it's considered like a violation of the condition, and it's not a get at all. We don't say that it's a get when he reaches that particular place. And the Gemara says, lo no tzricha, our Mishnah over here, the second Mishnah is needed. The amrolei heskabeli gita b'masa mechasya. She says, for example, receive my get in masa mechasya, v'zimnin demashkachas le bebavel, but sometimes you'll find that he's in Bavel. In other words, she's identifying various locations where the get might be found. V'achi kamarle. So if she says it like this, here's what she's saying to him: Mishkal kol hecha demashkachas le. Wherever you find it, take it, and shakli minei, take it from him, and again, then you'll proceed to this particular place. Rashi says, "V'zimnin de mashkachas le bebavel kevan dehadar amra lehachi." Since she said that to him, mechlal delo kafta imekabele bedoch dachrina. That implies she doesn't care if he receives it in a different place. V'hai de kavale ikar b'masa mechasya hachi kamra. When she said masa mechasya as the main city, what she meant was as follows: Lo te shaluchi lekabala diskarish ani al yadcha ad demotis hasam. I don't want you to be considered a shliach lekabala, that I'm actually going to be divorced until you reach that location. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Hey Amud Beis.